Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. It's the day after this huge E3 reveal of Star Wars Battlefront, and I think we are all a bit overwhelmed of all the new information to take in about DICE Battlefront. There are a lot of details I want to talk about in videos, including weapons, health system, vehicles, power-ups and so on, but I wanted to start off talking about game modes, as they revealed even more game modes last night after the reveal was done. So far we have the name of 10 game modes, so let's jump straight into it. The game mode featured in the gameplay trailer is called Walker Assault, and this particular session took place on Hoth. The objectives of this game mode is not 100% written out yet, but we can get a pretty good understanding just by watching the gameplay. The general goal of the game mode is that the rebels has to destroy the AT-ATs and the Empire obviously has to defend them. My guess is that there's some sort of time limit until the AT-ATs reach their goal and the Empire wins. In order to take out the AT-ATs, we can see that the rebels capture the so-called uplink stations that seem to call in Y-wings to disable the AT-AT shields, and therefore making them vulnerable to damage. It seems like after the AT-AT shield are down, pretty much anything will do good damage to it, as we can see normal soldiers shooting at the AT-ATs with their blaster rifles. The way I understand it is that you can't even damage the AT-ATs unless the shield is down, which sort of makes sense considering how it was in the movies. But I hope you will still be able to pull off the classic tow cable takedown without the shield being down. It also seems like the Empire actually has to disable the uplink stations by capturing them the same way that the rebels do, and that blowing them up isn't possible. What I wonder is how these captures actually converts into these Y-wing shield disables. Do you need to hold the uplink for a specific time, or is there anything else that matters? Well, I think time will tell, and hopefully we'll get more details of how the game mode works in the near future. Moving on, we do previously know that Fighter Squadron is another game mode present in the new game that is basically space battles above the planet. We don't really know much more about Fighter Squadron than that, to be honest. However, we did get the name of 4 new multiplayer game modes yesterday: Cargo, Blast, Drop Zone and Supremacy. We got zero information about these game modes, however, so we can't really do much more than just speculate, which is pretty hard. The only thing I can guess is that Supremacy might be a bit like Conquest maybe, and that the drop zone, well, means that something drops down into a zone, obviously. But yeah, it sounds like they are coming up with some new game modes, which is pretty nice, as it would get boring with just the classic game modes from all the other shooter games. Anyways, now let's move on to the missions, and the reason to why the title says Hero Assault and Instant Action. Firstly, the second gameplay video they revealed yesterday showed off the survival game mode, which is basically you alone or with a friend tackling 15 waves of Imperials with increasing difficulty. The game mode seems to start off with just a few stormtroopers and then moving on to shock troopers, AT-STs and other harder enemies. To be honest, this is a fantastic addition to Battlefront and something that I actually remember thinking about, or maybe even making a video about, last year. It's a great way to practice your aim, and hopefully it will actually offer different difficulties and a big challenge even for the best players. I would love to see people trying to speedrun the survival mode and stuff like that. Now, on to the very interesting stuff. I think anyone who is active in this community have seen the enormous amount of cries for instant action, and that EA has said that instant action as we know it will not be in the game. However, they have announced that something called battles will be in the game that apparently will let you battle a friend with armies of AI on your side, which to me sounds a lot like instant action. I can understand that they don't call the game modes the exact same thing as in the old games, as that would mean that people would expect those game modes to be just like in the old games. And on top of this, they also announced hero battles, and the only details I have about that game mode is hero battles are where you face off as iconic characters like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, which sounds a lot like Hero Assault from Battlefront 2. The hero selection will most likely be smaller, of course, but it sounds like the general idea behind the game mode is the same. Finally, they also mentioned the 4th mission game mode called Trials, which we don't really have any details for yet. Well, to sum up, this game is honestly shaping up to be a really good game that has all the things I wished for. Well, almost at least. I know that Clone Wars and space battles are hard to forget, but considering all the content they have already announced, I'm perfectly happy with that. Especially considering the amount of new features and game modes they have announced. That brings this video to an end. Make sure to stay tuned for extensive Battlefront coverage right here on the channel for the next couple of weeks, because guys, we have a lot to talk about. I will see you guys soon again, and as always, may the Force be with you.